The sky above Earth shimmered with colors never before seen by human eyes. Vast ships descended slowly through the atmosphere, their colossal forms outlined in radiant blues and silvers, pulsating with energy that felt ancient and incomprehensible. All over the world, from busy city streets to quiet mountain villages, people paused to look up. The news feeds flashed with breaking updates in every language. Unidentified vessels had entered Earth's orbit. But there was no panic. There was awe, silence, and that quiet pulse of instinctive abandon that humanity always felt in the face of the unknown. At the United Nations Assembly Hall in New York, delegates from every nation sat frozen, watching the live feed on the massive screen as one of the enormous ships hovered above the Pacific, its surface swirling with shifting patterns that seemed more alive than matter. Suddenly, a beam of soft light emerged from the ship, casting a shimmering projection into the sky. A voice followed, not mechanical, but warm and resonant, speaking in perfect translation to every ear, in every tongue. "We are the Guardians. We have come to protect you." The room erupted into murmurs and speculation. Questions flew. Protect us from what? Why now? How did they find us? On the screen, more ships appeared, gentle giants, positioning themselves above key points on Earth's surface, their presence both reassuring and overwhelming. In cities across the globe, people gathered in parks and streets, watching the skies. Some cheered, others knelt in prayer, but most stood in silent curiosity. Inside the end chamber, Olav Sorensen stood and spoke with careful calm. "Guardians, this is humanity's council. We welcome you, but we ask for understanding. Who are you protecting us from?" The light shimmered, and for a moment there was silence. The projected form of a guardian appeared, an ethereal being of soft light and flowing lines, neither human nor alien in any recognizable way, its form shifting as if shaped by thought rather than matter. "We come from beyond," the guardian's voice echoed, filling the room yet gentle, like a whispered lullaby. "Your world has been marked. Long ago, it was decided that Earth would be protected. The threat is not here yet, but it comes. Trust us." The delegates exchanged glances, their unease growing beneath the politeness of diplomacy. In secret corners of Earth, where the military and intelligence agencies watched through encrypted channels, suspicion stirred. In the Pentagon, General Harris leaned forward in his chair, eyes narrowed. "Protect us from what exactly?" he muttered under his breath. Around him, advisors nodded grimly. In underground bunkers and orbiter monitoring stations, the same question echoed. What could terrify beings that powerful? Meanwhile, on Earth's streets, the people continued to watch. Children pointed at the glowing ships, laughter mingling with nervous whispers. Parents held them close, unsure whether to feel relief or fear. In Tokyo, monks lit incense, bowing their heads in acceptance of whatever the universe brought. In Lagos, street vendors continued selling roasted corn and brightly colored fabrics, even as the sky shimmered with strange light. Life, cautious but vibrant, continued. Back in the United Nations chamber, Sorensen pressed again. "Guardians, humanity is grateful. But we are also proud. We ask for clarity. What is this threat?" The shimmering figure dimmed momentarily. "It is difficult to name," the Guardian answered. "A force from beyond what you know. Chaos that devours light and order. It approaches in the deep reaches of space, and it fears no boundary." The delegates shivered involuntarily. Ambassador Nadia Jiro of Japan stood slowly, her voice clear and respectful. "We thank you for your protection. But please understand, we are not children. We ask not out of defiance, but out of duty to our people. We need to know." The Guardian's form pulsed softly. "We understand," it said gently. "But trust must be given. For knowledge of the darkness brings its gaze." The air in the chamber thickened. Delegates fell into uneasy silence. The projection began to fade, but just before it did, a final message echoed. "We are here. We will protect. Do not seek to understand." The shimmering image vanished, leaving only the giant ships above. On the ground, humanity stood beneath ancient stars and new visitors, hearts beating with equal parts Vanden and unease. They had come to protect Earth. But every human heart asked the same quiet question. Protect us from what? The following day, the guardian vessels remained in the skies, silent and motionless, casting enormous shadows over oceans and cities alike. Across the globe, humanity's initial awe began to shift into uneasy questioning. News anchors spoke with forced calm, their eyes betraying fear. Experts and scientists filled broadcasts with speculation. Gravitational anomalies, unknown energy readings, the ship's impossible materials. Military leaders reassured their populations, though behind closed doors, contingency plans were activated, and weapons quietly aimed at the heavens. But the Guardians did nothing, no demands, no interference. They simply hovered, as if waiting. In a secured underground facility in Geneva, a secret council of Earth's leaders and scientific minds had gathered. Monitors displayed live feeds from a orbit, observations, and streams of data they could barely comprehend. At the head of the room, President of Argentina spoke first. "We are being protected," they say. "But from what?" They refuse to answer. General Harris, gruff and unsmiling, replied, "Or can't. Either they're hiding something or they're afraid that if we know, we'll panic. Or worse, draw that threat toward us." Dr. Lina Rao, astrophysicist, pointed to a fluctuating reading on the main display. "The gravitational waves we're detecting," she said quietly, "they're not natural. Something out there is stirring. A distortion. Like a ripple caused by something enormous moving through dark matter itself." The room fell silent. "How far away?" the German chancellor asked, her voice tight. Dr. Rao hesitated. "Impossible to say. But not as far as I'd like." Meanwhile, in the skies above Earth's orbit, the Guardian vessels shifted formation for the first time. Their glow intensified as they realigned in precise, geometric patterns, not threatening, but deliberate. From space telescopes, humanity watched as energy pulses rippled outward from each ship, weaving an invisible web around Earth. Protective, perhaps. Or a cage. At the International Space Station, Commandant Lee and her crew floated silently, watching the Guardian's intricate maneuvers from there. "They're bracing for something," she whispered. Her Russian counterpart, cosmonaut Ivanov, murmured, "Or for someone." The two locked eyes, neither needing to speak the thought they both shared. Something was coming. Back on Earth, in a quiet park in Nairobi, a child pointed at the sky where shimmering trails of energy now traced glowing lines like ancient runes. "Mama," she asked, tugging at her mother's sleeve, "are they angels?" Her mother hugged her tightly, eyes fixed on the impossible sight. "Maybe," she whispered. In Washington, D.C., military strategists debated behind thick security doors. Satellite feeds revealed growing turbulence on the edges of the solar system, swirling distortions that defied understanding. "It's like space itself is bending," when analyst reported. The president spoke solemnly, "We need answers. The Guardians won't give them. Maybe it's time we find out for ourselves." Operation was launched, a covert mission to send unmanned probes beyond the range of the Guardian ships, deep into the anomaly. Humanity's insatiable curiosity, tempered by fear, demanded it. Within hours, telescopes locked onto the probe's feeds as they accelerated past Mars. Data poured in, gravitational fluctuations, radiation bursts, strange signals in frequencies no human instruments had ever detected. But then, silence. Van by van, the probes vanished without warning, as if swallowed by an invisible force. The last image transmitted was burned into every observer's memory, a swirling void of darkness, lined with tendrils of flickering, hungry energy. No stars, no light, just an endless, consuming abyss. The secret council reconvened in stunned silence. Dr. Rao spoke, her voice barely audible. I think the Guardians were right. Knowing too much draws it closer." On screens across the facility, new data appeared, the gravitational distortions had intensified. Whatever lay beyond had noticed humanity's gaze. At that moment, the Guardians spoke again. Their voices boomed across every communication channel on Earth, heard simultaneously in every language, gentle but insistent. Do not look beyond. Do not seek. We protect, but knowledge is a beacon. In cities and villages around the world, people stood in silence, feeling the weight of those words. On mountaintops, in deserts, beside quiet rivers, humanity looked up at the shimmering vessels and felt both gratitude and terror. The Guardians had come to protect Earth, but also to shield it from its own unquenchable curiosity. The days stretched into weeks, and the shimmering Guardian vessels remained motionless above Earth, casting both comfort and an oppressive weight. Humanity continued to question, not just what the threat might be, but why they had been chosen for protection in the first place. In research facilities and government chambers, the unanswered question echoed. From what? And why us? In Geneva's secret council, the tension had reached a breaking point. The council members sat in the room, shadows long across maps of the solar system marked with distortions. President spoke again, her voice firm but weary. We can't sit in the dark forever. If the Guardians won't answer, then we have to find our own truth. General Harris nodded curtly. I've never been comfortable trusting unknown giants who refuse to explain themselves. Dr. Rao hesitated, her eyes dark with worry. But if they're shielding us, any action we take could undo their protection. The room fell into silence once more. Then, from the back of the room, Ambassador Michaela Chen spoke softly but with steel in her voice. Eeyore, she said, maybe it's time to ask the question in a way they can't ignore. And in the highest secrecy, a human diplomatic envoy was assembled. A small craft, the Aureora Spear, was launched toward the lead Guardian vessel. Its mission was not to provoke, but to demand understanding. On board, Ambassador Chen sat alone, staring out into the infinite as her ship slowly approached the massive, radiant form. Her message had been transmitted before launch. You protect us. But from what? We must know. As the Aureora Spear approached, the Guardian ship pulsed with a soft glow, its intricate patterns shifting like a living tapestry. The human vessel stopped within a kilometer of its vast hull, dwarfed by the impassable structure. Silence stretched on. Then, without warning, a beam of light enveloped the Aureora Spear. Inside, time seemed to fold. Chen found herself standing, not in her ship, but in a vast, luminous void. Shapes flickered around her, echoes of worlds long gone, civilizations that had reached too far. A voice spoke, but not in sound. It filled her mind directly, ancient and unfathomably vast. You seek to know. Few survive the knowing. Chen swallowed her fear. We have the right to understand what danger you protect us from. The voice responded with infinite patience. The danger is not a single entity. It is hunger, it is curiosity unbound. It is what lies beyond the veil, a presence that consumes not with malice, but with inevitability. Before her, visions unfolded. Civilizations far more advanced than humanity, reaching into dark matter, peeling back the fabric of existence itself. Each step forward had drawn the attention of the thing that slept beyond. A pulsing void, infinite tendrils reaching out across dimensions, dissolving worlds without struggle, only silence. Chen's breath caught in her throat. An earth, she asked trembling. You are new, the voice answered. Your curiosity burns bright. Too bright. The light calls to it. The vision shifted again. Earth seen from afar, its blues and greens vivid against the black. Slowly, from the far edges of perception, a darkness stirring, faint but present. We shield you. But the question itself is dangerous. Chen took a breath. So we are to remain ignorant? Is that survival or imprisonment? The voice grew softer. Knowledge is a beacon. Curiosity is a door. Some doors should never be opened. Then the vision shifted once more, showing humanity's probes, lost in the void, their signals feeding the hunger. I understand, Chen whispered. But we are human. We will always ask. There was a pause. Then, the light around her dimmed, and the voice spoke one last time. Then ask wisely, and never look too long into the abyss. In a flash of blinding light, Chen was back aboard the Aurora Spear, the console lights blinking gently. Her ship was slowly being guided back to Earth. The entire encounter had taken minutes, but it felt like eternity. When she returned to Geneva, the council awaited her in silence. Chen stood before them, her face pale but resolute. She told them everything. The room was heavy with silence when she finished. President exhaled slowly. So, she said softly, we are protected from ourselves. Chen nodded. And from what answers might draw near. The council sat in stand quiet. Dr. Rao spoke finally, her voice barely above a whisper. But how do we stop asking? Chen looked out the window, toward the night sky where the guardian ships shimmered gently. We won't, she said softly. But now we know why we must be careful. We ask not to break open the unknown, but to understand when not to. The guardian vessels had begun their silent withdrawal. When by when, they drifted away from Earth's orbit, their brilliant forms dissolving into streaks of light that vanished among the stars. Humanity watched with bated breath, unsure if their departure marked the end of protection or the beginning of something far more terrifying. But the night remained still. Across the planet, cities dimmed their lights, telescopes turned outward, and people stood beneath open skies in reverent silence, feeling the weight of secrets only a handful of humans had glimpsed. At the heart of Geneva's observation deck, a grand balcony overlooking the vastness of space, the council gathered for what might be the final address between species. Ambassador Chen stood at the forefront, dressed in formal simplicity, a symbol of human curiosity tempered by caution. The crystalline railing shimmered beneath soft lighting, and beyond it, the void stretched endlessly. One final guardian vessel remained, hovering in the distance like a distant sunrise. Its radiance pulsed in slow rhythm, as though breathing. A gentle chime sounded, and from the ship's heart, a final projection emerged, a holographic tapestry of cosmic history, far grander than before. Images unfolded in silence, ancient worlds swallowed by darkness, echoes of warning signs, flashes of civilizations burning too brightly, calling to what should never awaken. Then came the vision of Earth, its swirling oceans and vast forests glowing softly. Above it, symbols of restraint and wisdom hovered, ancient runes now deciphered. Vanden, but do not beckon. The projection faded slowly, leaving the council in silence. The guardian vessel pulsed once, twice, and then, in a breathless movement, vanished completely into the night sky. No words had been spoken, but the message had been delivered. Humanity's guardians had left, not abandoning them, but trusting that they now understood the stakes. Chen remained at the balcony, her hand resting gently on the crystal railing. Beside her, President spoke softly. They left. Chen nodded. Because now we know. General Harris exhaled, his demeanor softened by the moment. So we are the keepers of a question we cannot fully ask. Dr. Rao, standing a few steps behind, added, and guardians of our own restraint. The silence of space pressed in, vast and unknowable. Across Earth, humanity adjusted to this new understanding, not of power, but of humility. Schools taught not only science and exploration but also reverence for the unknown. The space programs redefined their missions with caution etched into every blueprint. The phrase "ask wisely" became part of their insignias, and in observatories, plagues were placed bearing the runes left by the guardians. As the night deepened, Chen found herself alone on the observation deck. The galactic core shimmered faintly in the distance, and the absence of the guardian vessels left the stars clearer, sharper, more vast than ever. She felt small, but not powerless. The weight of knowing carried responsibility. Slowly, the deck doors opened, and a group of children entered, guided by their teacher. They approached in Vanden, their faces lit by the starlight. One small girl stepped forward. Her voice was barely a whisper. Are they gone forever? Chen turned, kneeling slightly so they met at eye level. They left because they trust us now, she said gently. The girl looked up at the stars. But if they were protecting us, is it still out there? Chen nodded solemnly. Some things are always out there. But we are learning to listen, to abandon without calling. The girl's eyes widened. We're still allowed to abandon. Chen smiled softly. Always. Abandon is safe. It's calling that's dangerous. The children remained for a moment longer, then were gently ushered away, their laughter echoing faintly down the polished corridors. Chen turned back to the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the veil, the darkness stirred, infinite, patient, and blind. But humanity had chosen not to shout into the void. Instead, they would learn, observe, and move forward with reverence. Back inside the council chamber, decisions were already being made. New exploration protocols, new restrictions on deep probes, and new codes of conduct for all cosmic transmissions. Curiosity remained the core of human spirit, but it would now be coupled with caution and humility, engraved in law and culture alike. The council had chosen not to bar humanity from asking questions, but to teach them the price of asking carelessly. And so Earth continued to spin beneath the quiet stars. The absence of the guardians did not leave emptiness, but rather a profound silence filled with meaning. Humanity was alone again, but this time with understanding. They would explore still, but they would remember the ancient runes and the visions shared by cosmic protectors. And when they gazed up at the night sky, they would not feel fear, but quiet respect for the boundary between knowing and beckoning. Above them, in the endless dark, the unknown waited. But Earth had learned to let the silence remain unbroken.